Iceland, a country of wild beauty and dramatic contrasts. Less known is its increasingly equal society.
I think it's in her blood, yeah.
Spurði ég hann einhvern tímann, ætlar þú að vera súpermann? Og hún alveg, nei, ég vil vera súperkona.
It's the only country in the world to have closed more than 90% of its gender gap. From education to childcare to equal pay, women and girls enjoy a progressive lifestyle.
Iceland's most important role is to be a lighthouse for the rest of the world.
But is everything as perfect as it seems?
We have been marketed as this feminist paradise, which we are not.
We want to hear from women about the challenges they still face.
These women are coming from domestic abuse, where the main focus is isolation.
And how they continue to fight to improve their country even further.
We're here to empower our participants to be a bigger part of the world.
The only way to fix it is to be prepared to fight.
We believe that we are changing the world.
Iceland has topped gender equality rankings for the last 15 years. Perhaps one of the secrets to their success: start early. This is Laufasburg, a nursery school in the capital, Reykjavik. They do things a bit differently. The boys and the girls are separated for most of the day and are encouraged to do things usually associated with the opposite sex. It's called compensation work. The girls are taught to be unapologetic and fierce.
Eru þið sterkar eða sterkar?
Meanwhile, the boys are doing something very different. They're getting in touch with their caring side, giving each other compliments and massages. It's a teaching method called hjalli. The idea is that they develop their personalities without the pressures and constraints of conventional gender stereotypes. Bara was one of the first people to attend this school as a child. Her mother helped set it up. Her two daughters are the third generation with a connection to the hjalli method.
Sem foreldri þá hef ég það hlutverk að senda út í lífið tvo sterka sjálfstæða einstaklinga og mér finnst hjallastefnan sem einstaklingar þær gera styrtaræfingar alla daga til þess að þær verði sterkar konur.
What is the impact of this school on your daughters?
Já, ég sé það rosa skýrt á eldri dóttur minni hvað hún ótrúlega sjálfstæð þegar íslenska mjög karllægt tungumál og þegar eldri stelpa mín var lítil þá spurði ég hann einhvern tímann, ætlar þú að vera súpermann? Og hún alveg, nei, ég vil vera súperkona.
About 8% of children in Iceland attend these schools, and demand is growing. They've opened 17 across the country.
We need to start at the very beginning. 2 years old, they have formed their idea of what it means to be a boy or a girl, and that will limit them for the next years, especially when they're having this concrete way of thinking. It is either or, boy or a girl, you know. So we need to start early.
Why do you separate the boys and the girls?
Girls are deprived of so many possibilities. We are compensating by giving them this opportunity to show their strength, and in the single-sex settings, they are not competing with the boys at the same time. If everything is mixed, the girls will step back. It is the same with boys. We also need to give them compensation for what they have been deprived of based on gender, giving them the possibility of being more social, not only individually strong as they are, but helping them to train the kindness and closeness. I love what I'm doing. We all do. We believe that we are changing the world.
So, from a very early age, children in Iceland are taught to think differently about gender roles, not only at school, but in every aspect of life. This is a music space specifically for women, non-binary and trans people.
Læti, loudness, was a word that we found together as a group. It's really appropriate because, I don't know, for me as a drum teacher, it's what I say all the time, like more loudness, more loudness. The girls do not take space. They just don't. And the boys take all the space. Some of the boys, there are always exceptions, of course, but we're here to close the cultural gap because for some reasons, we don't see a lot of girls or non-binary or trans kids doing this.
Do you feel empowered to be in a rock band?
Yes. I feel more confident than I did. You just can be yourself here. You don't have to be like someone else. Because like rock isn't always for boys and it has to be, girls also have to take some space. Oh my God, that was...
The whole thing is based on the safer space idea. So if they can come in and they see that it is okay to take space, then they can go into the world and take space there.
Iceland is a small nation of about 400,000 people. In 2018, it became the first country to require employers to prove that they pay people equally. Essentially, paying men more than women for the same job is illegal.
It's based on a best-selling novel, and it's about... we're going for a take. I'll tell you later.
It's okay.
Nearly 90% of working-age women have jobs. The film industry is traditionally very male-dominated, but in Iceland, the number of female directors has gone up significantly, and it's the highest in Europe.
Did you ever feel that something was not achievable to you because you're not a man?
I've never thought about myself in those terms. I love, directing. I wanted to be a filmmaker. And I think just the way I was raised, I've never even questioned that.
We are just filming some deku rats, some animals. And they are usually the toughest actors. So.
Really? Do you think that there's like a tradition that Icelandic women are particularly strong?
It's a rough place to live, and I think with that comes a survival instinct, and there comes an inner strength and mentality that I think is really helpful in the film industry, because obviously what we do is quite challenging, and so yeah, I think it's in our blood, yeah.
Okay, it's pretty good. Let's cut.
But staying in the workforce can be hard for many women once they start a family. This is known as the motherhood penalty, but not in Iceland.
How hectic is breakfast normally in this family?
We usually never have breakfast because there's no time.
This is just for you.
Parental leave here is 12 months, and the mother and the father can split it equally. Katrin and Fanna have 5 kids. Today, whilst Fana takes them to school, Katrin is off to work. Her job is in the salmon farming industry.
My role here is I'm an aqua technician, work on the cages, just make sure that all the equipment's working, make sure the oxygen's good, the temperature's good, the salmon looks good.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
Probably just being in the nature, being kind of like one with the ocean.
The temperature of the water was 6.1 degrees and the oxygen was 92.
And is that good? Oh, yeah, that's good.
Have you ever felt, oh, if I get pregnant, things will be hard for me at work?
No, never. I've never felt like the pressure of not having kids because of my career.
Now that you're on paternity, what is a typical day with your daughter or with your kids when Katrin's not around?
Gera klár fyrir skólan. Já, svo fara heim, eða þegar Malía er heima, fara að vera með henni allan daginn, ná svo í hina krakkana í skólan, gera kvöldmat. Ég fer með þeim í fótbolta, ég fer með þeim á ströndina, bara name it, sko. Bara sem þau vilja gera. Það var svona erfiðar en ég hélt að vera foreldri, en ég vandist þessu mjög fljótt.
It's not a maternal thing to take care of the kids. You know, dads can take care of the kids just as well as women can.
This policy has had a profound impact here. 90% of all fathers take paternity leave. Research shows that after going back to work, they continue to be significantly more involved. Sharing childcare from the very beginning, it seems, makes a long-term difference.
Probably men respect women a lot more now that they have the chance to spend more time with the kids and get to know what women have done like for years and take part in that journey. I think has like helped equality here.
Fannstu Bobba?
But what about the lowest paid jobs? Most of them are done by women. Solveig Anna is head of the second largest union in Iceland, and she's working to change that.
So this is like our community home, where we do our meetings and we do our organizing and we prepare for action and the next fight, negotiations.
About 90% of the country's workers belong to a union, the highest percentage in the world.
How successful have you been in your demands?
So we have been quite successful. For example, we have focused on the preschool workers, mostly women, 80% plus women, and we fought for like a special raise for them, and we got that. And then how did you get it? How did we get it? By going on strike. We then went on with the same demands for other workers in similar workplaces. We won that too.
Strike again?
Strike again, yes. Twice during COVID, very hard. Here's a pattern. Last big important one that we achieved was this past winter when we focused on the cleaning sector, where we have almost 80% women, a huge group of immigrant women who had described their horrible working situations and very low wages. So we took the same thought and we said we're going to get special raises for this group, and we did.
How?
By threatening strike. By now we've gone on so many strikes that they know we mean it, so at this point we kind of only have to threaten.
Iceland has a tradition of women coming together to demand change. In 1975, 25,000 women went on strike. They refused to work, cook, and look after the children for one day. It was a pivotal moment that propelled Iceland to the forefront of the fight for equality.
I would say that the primary reason for our success in negotiations in the past years is because of enabling women. When working women come together, they can achieve real change in society.
It sounds obvious to benefit women, elect women in positions of power. But around the world, very few countries have a woman head of state. Iceland was the first country to elect a woman president in 1980. I'm on my way to meet Iceland's current president. And you've guessed it, it's a woman.
Hi.
Hi, Madam President. Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Nice to meet you, Sophia.
Thank you. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Bessastaðir.
Is Iceland a great place to be a woman?
It is, but that doesn't mean we don't have work to do. We have opportunities in Iceland to not just lead as women, but to be authentically who we are. There's a step beyond just representation that I think we sometimes forget to talk about, where women are allowed to bring their true leadership and approach to the table and not just be like men, which was very much the reality early in my career. So I think we have actually reached levels in Iceland where we have and are shifting culture.
That shift is everywhere to see. Iceland recently became the first country in the world to issue a gender bond of 50 million euros to provide affordable housing for women on low incomes and to improve parental leave even further. There's an equality representative in all schools and universities, and all names are gender neutral. So, is this really a feminist paradise?
Even if Iceland has made all this progress in a short period of time, something that is much harder to eradicate in any society, really, is gender violence. I want to find out just how much of a problem that is here.
A quarter of Icelandic women have experienced rape or attempted rape, and around 40% have been subjected to physical or sexual violence. I've come to a small port town just outside Reykjavik to meet Hulda.
Hi. Hi, Hulda.
As a child, she was abused by her grandfather, but for years she was too scared to speak out. In 2017, she founded OFGA, a feminist organization.
When you talk about or hear about Iceland, everybody says like this is the safest country in the world, we are the happiest, women are the safest. We have been marketed as this feminist paradise, which we are not. Of course we have less gun violence, of course we have less gang violence, but at home we are not any more safe than women anywhere else in Europe.
Why do you think it's such a big issue here?
Violence thrives in silence, and we have been taught since we were young to forgive and to forget and stay quiet. I grew up in all the privileges you can imagine, but at night or during the weekends I was still being molested by my grandfather. And I didn't dare say anything because I did not want to shame my family. Our organization is for survivors done by survivors of gender-based violence. And we use all our sources, our social media, our energy to give survivors of gender-based violence a safe place to give their voice. We didn't start really speaking up about what happened to us until Me Too in 2017. So now women are starting to say this happened to me, this is who did it to me.
Some women in Iceland believe the justice system has let them down in a systemic way. More than 80% of reports of sexual violence are dropped. They never make it to court. And because of that, the state is being sued for misogyny.
We thought it was time to take things further. We thought it was completely unacceptable that women were not taken seriously, and we decided to use the European Court of Human Rights to sue the Icelandic state, to show that we would not tolerate this, and to try to get justice done. We have already succeeded in the way that Icelandic authorities have had to answer very critical and difficult questions about police work when it comes to sexual violence. Now we are just crossing our fingers that we will win.
Do you think that the government is doing enough to tackle the issue of gender violence?
No, I don't think any government is doing enough. And I think we also have challenges in the justice system and in the culture at large. As long as there's gender-based violence, we're not doing enough. It's as simple as that.
Iceland is a small country. It only has 2 shelters for women fleeing gender-based violence.
Hi!
How are you?
I'm fine, welcome.
Going to a shelter can be a very isolating experience. The focus here is making women feel less alone from the very beginning.
So this is the common area, the living room and the kitchen. So this is maybe like the heart of the house. We eat dinner together every night, and this is very important for us to have this common area where we come together. And also during the nights we are here, there are knitting nights or whatever it's going on. So
and it's an open plan kitchen as well.
Yeah, the idea is like we have our housewife that is here every day, but the idea is that the women, they also help and they are like part of the household.
And I guess it's sort of, you don't really feel isolated if there's a common space.
Yeah, that's the main idea. Like these women are coming from domestic abuse, where the main focus is isolation most of the time. So it is important for us that the women and the children feel this sense of community in here. The fact is that the violence is just the same here as everywhere else, and it's a pandemic, and it's just in the background all the time, so people have gotten a bit used to it. And what makes it difficult is this paradox that everything is so perfect in Iceland, because there are things that we are not doing well enough, and some things we are doing like worse than in other countries.
How do you know that your way of doing things works?
20 years ago, 64% of women went back to the perpetrators, and last year it was 11%. We believe that all this work that we are doing is really helping the woman to work the way away from the violence and away from the relationship.
Að Ísland eitt öruggasta land í heimi nema að þú sért kona. Við þá þarf bara vilja og það þarf framkvæmd til þess að uppræta kynbundið ofbeldi. Og við verðum bara öll að hætta að sætta okkur við innantóm orð og innantóm loforð.
We're at a vigil to remember all the Icelandic women who have been killed by men. It just shows that even in a country that is supposed to be a great place for women, things are far from perfect.
En í kvöld líkur vetri, sér hvers vinnandi manns, og á morgun skín maísól, það maísólin hans, það maísólin.
Iceland has closed more than 90% of its gender gap. It's the only country in the world to have done so. At this rate, when do you think that Iceland will close the gender gap?
My ambition is for Iceland to be first to close the gender gap, and hopefully by 2030. And Iceland should, and already does, lead on that front. That's an ambitious goal, I realize that.
But when you say closing the gender gap by 2030, I mean, that's very soon.
It is.
Do you think that's realistic?
Probably not a realistic goal, but we don't need realistic goals now. We need courageous goals, ambitious goals. We are facing massive challenges the world over, and empowering women, closing the gender gap, is a big part of solving them, if not the key to solving them.
Do you feel optimistic about the changes that the new generation, your daughter's generation, will bring?
Absolutely. My daughters are so well educated about consent. They will hopefully take that into their relationship if they have one in the future.
You don't need to have like a husband and 2 children and a house. Like you can be or a wife. I would, or a wife.
Linda is working on a purpose-built shelter, the first in Iceland and one of very few in Europe.
And what will the common area look like? What do you envisage?
Warmth and coziness, and that's like the main thing.
I feel like it's really important that you get the time to still be yourself.
I actually think maybe Iceland's most important role is not only to close its own gender gap, but to be a lighthouse for the rest of the world.